with journalists on the ground, et cetera, et cetera. I consider it to be the good fortune because I think what has happened over the past 18 months more generally, and in Lausanne, Switzerland more specifically, I consider this to be historic. And I think it's historic for two reasons. One, you would be hard-pressed to name another agreement of any kind, whether it's a framework agreement, a finalized deal, or anything in between, that was negotiated by the US and Iran, irrespective of whether other countries were party to it. You'd be hard-pressed to find another agreement that was negotiated between these two countries that proved to be ultimately successful. You might find one or two here or there, but certainly nothing of this magnitude. So two countries that would call one another enemies for over 3 decades were able to sit down at the negotiating table and have a civilized conversation. And you could probably count the number of times that's happened over the past 3 decades on one hand. So for that reason alone, I find it to be historic. But I think it's even more historic because of the actual tangible things that both sides are getting in this agreement. The compromises that were made are far more reaching than I thought that they would be at this stage of the negotiations, and I think set us up for a successful future going forward to ensure that Iran's nuclear program is verifiably peaceful and that we avoid another war of choice in the Middle East. What stands out to me about what we, as the United States and our allies in the P5+1, or permanent members of the UN Security Council plus Germany, what we're tangibly getting from this, we're getting the most intrusive inspections regime of any nuclear program in the world. Iran is going to be signing what's called the Additional Protocol, which is essentially assuring verification of a higher degree than what Iran currently allows the IAEA to have. I'm summarizing here because I don't want to go into all the various details of the Additional Protocol and bore you with them, but it's a very good thing. More inspections and more access to the various aspects of Iran's nuclear program, very good thing. Iran is also agreeing to additional transparency measures beyond the Additional Protocol for the life of its program. Meaning that if you hear people go out into the media and say, well, this deal is only good for 10 to 15 years, and then there's a sunset clause, and all the concessions that Iran's giving is going away, it's nonsense. When this deal is done, Iran's nuclear program will continue to be the most heavily inspected nuclear program in the world, period, full stop. Also, after this deal is signed, if in fact it's signed, I want to acknowledge that it's not a foregone conclusion, but I am beyond cautiously optimistic at this point. Now I would just call myself optimistic. The IAEA will be spending more money per year of its budget on Iran than any other country. If I'm not mistaken, and somebody in this room I'm sure can correct me if I'm wrong, I think only the South Korean program or the Japanese program, either or, gets more money allocated towards inspections and things of that nature from the IAEA than Iran's program. That will change. Iran will be the most heavily inspected, and it will have the most resources directed towards it. This is very, very good, because the essence of this is that every aspect of the supply chain in Iran's nuclear program is going to be monitored, inspected, and verified. In layman's terms, that means we're going to know what Iran is doing every step of the way. Another perk is that the majority of Iran's enrichment, actually all of Iran's enrichment, let's be honest, is going to be happening in one facility with slightly over 5,000 first-generation centrifuges, technology that's over 30 years old. So, to a certain extent, a very large aspect of Iran's nuclear program is going to be essentially frozen in time. So even if they're able to make advancements on the research and development of various technical aspects of their program, they're not going to be able to go and test it in the real world. Doing things in labs and doing things in the real world and testing it for real-world viability and functionality are two very different things, right? So Iranian scientists will continue to be employed and will be able to continue making progress on what they consider to be important aspects of research and development of their nuclear program, but the real-world application of Iran's scientific advancement is not going to be actually operationalized in ways that presents a proliferation threat to the United States and its allies in the world. This is a very good thing. Also, 2 of Iran's nuclear facilities, the fundamental infrastructure of them are going to be changed. What was going to be a plutonium facility is essentially having the heart taken out of it, and it's going to be reconfigured completely, 2 thumbs up. And then Iran's underground facility called Fordow will be allowed to have 1,000 centrifuges to continue spinning, but they're not going to be spinning uranium. And you have the Energy Secretary of the United States, Ernest Moniz, who's a nuclear physicist, MIT trained, going on television and saying because Iran has 1,000 centrifuges in this facility that's not spinning uranium anymore, this reduces the proliferation threat, if not outright eliminates it. So again, tangible compromises that were achieved in this framework agreement dramatically improve our ability to verify that Iran's program remains peaceful. This is a very, very good thing. Obviously, we have given concessions as well when it comes to sanctions relief and number of centrifuges, even though the number of centrifuges isn't the only, or by any case of the imagination, the most pertinent aspect of Iran's nuclear program. But I want to point out to you here what the United States is getting, because we have a propensity in the American media to point out what America is giving. And I think that what we are getting out of this deal is absolutely tremendous. It's more than I thought we would get. It's more than what most people in Washington, D.C. thought would be agreed to at this point in time. And overwhelmingly, this is a good thing for security. Now, the last bit that I want to talk about is if, in fact, this deal proves to be successful, which I am optimistic that it will be, why is this a good thing for regional security? The Middle East is on fire. I think Iran is really the only country in the region that I could think of right now that isn't actively fighting a war. And you could even say that they are because of what they're doing in Syria. So really, at the end of the day, you have every Middle Eastern country fighting a war in some way, shape, or form. That's not really a good thing. So if this crisis over Iran's nuclear program can be solved, and if it can be taken off of the ledger, taken off of the balance sheet, what that provides in terms of opportunities is unprecedented. It provides an opportunity for Iran and the United States to use the nuclear agreement as a foundation to have conversations about regional security issues from Afghanistan to Iraq to Syria to Yemen. If you can name a regional security problem in the Middle East, chances are Iran and the United States have not been talking about it in any substantial way for at least a decade, if not longer. And if you talk to political officials in Tehran, you talk to political officials in Washington, they tell you either we don't want to talk about it, this is the minority of people, or the majority of people say we'd like to talk about it, but this nuclear issue is the 8,000-pound gorilla in the room. And it's preventing us from having the political space that's necessary